Hello everyone, it's Mr. Paradise, Pickin' Paradise, and today we're doing a lock picking belt ride along series. This will be episode 1. This is a series that I've been thinking about doing for a while. It's to help raise people up through the ranks of the belt system, and we're going to start at the lowest, all the way down at white belt. We're going to try to get everybody up to the blue belt level. So we're going to do a video each week, and I encourage everyone to put in the comments kind of what they want to see, questions they have, and content that they find useful and content that they don't find so useful. Today's video, I hope, isn't going to be too awfully long. There's a bunch that I want to go over, but I've taken notes, which I normally do not, and try to keep me on track to go through this. So basically what we have is white belt. So I think most people start, and I don't know how they get started. Maybe they have a friend, or maybe they just kind of thought about it. Maybe they've seen Lock Picking Lawyer or Bosnia Bill, and they've grabbed a lock that they have somewhere around, maybe similar to this lock or any of those other locks. And what they've done is they found some sort of tool, which is either bobby pins, hairpins, or they've actually ordered some picks or got their hands on some picks, and they have tried to pick it or rake it. And that's how easy those go. Okay, so I mean, I'm a little bit more experienced, so I have a technique of even raking that beginners don't. And raking is a skill that you can develop. It is just a chance, like chance is, there's not much skill, but the tensioning is the biggest skill in raking. So white belt, there we've done it. Okay, so now all I've got to do is pull out my phone, snap a picture of that, post that on Reddit, message it to the mods, and boom, I've got my white belt. Yay! Now we're excited, right? We've opened a lock and we know that we can do this, and we're like, wow, what other locks do I got laying around? And maybe you scrummage through some stuff or go to the store and you buy maybe a 141 or a 140 or anything else that you have in your area you might go buy, or you just might find what you have laying around. Then you kind of get a little over excited, and you're like, well, what else has locks? What else has locks? Oh, doors have locks. I'm going to go try to pick my door. We should pull the e-brake right there. Do not pick your door locks. Go to the lock picking Reddit, and up on the top there's those 3 little dots. That's the sidebar. We click there and we'll go to community info. And why is it at the top? Rules, because it's probably the most important. Everything has rules, and so does lock picking. So we're just going to go over those really quick and tell you why they are rules. Possibly illegal or inappropriate is rule number 1. So that's pretty self-explanatory. We're not doing this to be illegal or inappropriate. We're just doing it as a hobby. They're like puzzles, okay? And they're intricate puzzles, and it's endless what we can do and where we can take those puzzles. Rule number 2, really important here. Lock not owned or in use. And it explains some. The biggest thing to that, though, is picking locks can damage them, okay? And it can damage them past the point of return to where the lock will no longer work or function, and that means the thing that it's attached to will no longer be able to be used, and that could be expensive. So don't do that. 3, no emergency services. Well, let's go back to 2 real quick, because the last sentence, even if they are your own, we think, oh, well, I own it, I can pick it. So what if I break it? Well, you're not going to get help from Reddit for that. You have no way of telling us or proving to us that you own it, so let's not even try there, okay? So don't pick locks that are in use. Done. No emergency services, because obviously the lock's probably in use. It's an emergency service. Don't be a jerk. That's your general rule of life. No astroturfing. It gives you the definition of astroturfing. You can read that No off topic, no stock photos of picking advice threads. Again, that's probably going right back to rule number 2. And no posts about broken tools or equipment. That's the rules. So read those and do your homework on that. So we've already got our white belt. We've done that. Okay. So our white belt is achieved. We snapped the photo. We've messaged the mods, which are up in the sidebar as well, and we've got our white belt. So now what we want to do is we want to learn how locks work. Okay. So I've got a little diagram here that I've pulled up to give us a good visual aid. And I think it's pretty funny how it just rises up out of there. So the orange belt requirement, if we go back to the subreddit, it says belt ranking information. So if we click on that, we can read all through the requirements, and it has a list of the locks of what's required and what locks meet which one. Oh, I'm sorry, not orange, yellow belt. Boom. Okay, so we're not going to get in the orange belt, but a little bit maybe. Let's see. Yellow says you understand the basic functional locks, technique to pick them, normal, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, so I got a little... Nope, that's it. So we want to learn how locks work. Okay, so if we do that, then we can understand why I picked that so easy, or why I raked it so easy, and what's really going on, and how it works. So if we pay attention over here, this one shows you everything that's in a lock. We've got the pin chambers. That's where the pins live. We got the whole shell of a lock. So that's basically like this guy, right? So that's in a door. That's the part we see. But behind the door, that's what you've got. And we've got the keyway. We got the key pins, driver pins, springs. We got the plug. So the plug is basically this thing right here. That is a plug. That's the core. Boom. Plugs in there. So, or if we listen or use common sense, key pins are what the key touches. So as the key goes in, the key touches these guys, which you can see over here in this diagram, and sets them at the right height. Okay, so this is a resting lock. This is 2 when the key is in. Not really sure what 3 is all about. Oh, this one the key's not right in place. See how they're up and down. It's not quite in all the way or something, or it's a wrong key. This is the correct key, and the shear line has been met, and now they can turn and go from here. A lot of people start out with clear acrylic locks, which are good. It gives you a good visual, but once you kind of Googled and went through this and figured out the concepts of why locks work and how they work, then I don't really think that starting with an acrylic lock is that important. I actually think that the master locks or these lower level locks are fine to begin with, and it'll actually give you an ego boost because you'll go pick all the ones out of Walmart or the hardware store, and then you'll actually pick them and you'll be like, wow, that was easy. But if you are having problems, don't worry about it. This happens to everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you why sticking a tension wrench in a lock and then using a pick to lift the pins works and why it works. So we turn this in. Now pressure's applied. Well, the way that a lock core is made, all the pins live up here in the Bible, right up there. And then these are the key pin holes, right? And then up there, you can't see, but up there in the Bible, there's other holes, and that's where the driver pins and the springs live. So when this lock is made, all those little holes have to be drilled. And there's just no way that a drill, no matter how computerized and how perfect everything's in, can drill each hole exactly in a straight line. It just can't happen. Some have very good tolerances, like Asa Abloys or the higher end locks have really, really tight tolerances, so they're really close to a straight line, and they're really close to the same size. But some of the lower level locks, or most lower level locks, have horrible tolerances. And this hole, say the first hole, let me use my pick to point. The first hole may be farther right than the second hole. And then this one may be farther left, so on and so forth. So what happens is when we're turning the core and putting tension on it, it is saying which one is going to be the first to go up inside of the Bible and actually be able to push, and all the other ones will stay loose. Once that one is set, the first one, then the core rotates a tiny bit more and the other ones come into play. And we're talking very, very fine, little adjustments for when it's turning to get the correct binding order. Okay, so we're already at 10 minutes, which I've got a lot that I want to go over. So let's go over tools real quick. When you're first starting, you are going to probably end up getting some cheaper tools, maybe a Chinese set, which is what these are, and you're going to end up having a bunch of tension wrenches in there. Some are going to look like this, some are going to kind of look like that, and this is one of my favorite ones. This one. It's double-sided. There we go. Now, looks really similar to this, but this is more for like a warded key. So there's different types of locks. Right now we're staying focused on the pin tumbler locks, and we're not going to get into dimple locks or warded locks or disc detainer locks, but you can Google about all those and learn, because the biggest thing is if we know how it works and how it's assembled, we can figure out a way to manipulate it and get it open. So the tools. If you bought a Chinese set, don't worry, you haven't made a horrible mistake, because what you can actually do is sand these down. I would start with 220 and I would just sand it, and then I would finish it off with 320 and then maybe a 400 or all the way up to a 600. That will make them perform a lot better, because these are really cheap locks. But that's how I started with this Chinese set, and I've got more than one or two that are broken. If you haven't bought yet, then what I would suggest is to go to Multi-Pick or Peterson and buy Peterson or Multi-Pick, and just buy a variety. You can get on Reddit and ask for advice, but it's asked a lot. So in short, it's hook 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's different shapes, and get this tension wrench in 2 different thicknesses. You're going to get a whole bunch of other tension wrenches, and you can make them out of wiper blades and so on and so forth. So one real quick tip before we leave, because I don't want this to go into the 15-minute plus range, make things easy on yourself, okay? This keyway is straight up and down, versus this keyway has a little notch at the side there. See the difference? I can easier get to the pins on this one than this one. So make life easy on you and go with the easier one. Because this way you can get a pick in there and you can just go straight up and down at it, okay? And that's what I want us to focus on, is just filling the pins and talk about tension. So even without sticking a tension wrench in there, stick the pick in there, rub for the pins. If we listen, okay, we heard that. That's like 4 clicks. I'm putting a lot of pressure to get the clicks, but what I want you to end up doing is barely rub them, so you can just feel the tips of the key pins. And if we notice up here, the key pins have this little shape. That's so when we stick the key in, they actually move up and down. And the other thing is, since a lot of people start out, they go bottom of keyway, okay? This is the bottom of the keyway. This is the top of the keyway, bottom of keyway. When you stick something in the bottom of the keyway, your pick has way less room to move around. So, okay, here we are, we're in the bottom of the keyway, and now I've got to find a place to stick my pick in there. How do I do that? I've got way less room, right? But if I have a top of keyway wrench and I start out correctly, This is where you're gonna end up later. Now I have a much easier time getting my pick straight in and feeling for those pins. No matter what, when you start out, you are going to have a tremendous amount of tension, and you're going to think that it requires pushing a lot and the pick pressure a lot. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't require a lot. Some require heavier tension than others. So this is the whole knowledge of getting to know what locks need what. The way we do this is we apply heavy tension and we back off all the way to very, very extremely light tension. Extremely light tension is just enough to hold that piece of paper on a wall. That's extremely light tension. And extremely heavy tension is maybe 2 or 3 times harder than that. So if you think you're using light tension and you're beginning, you're probably not. Also the pick pressure. We don't need to be pushing too much because we're probably mistaking edges inside the lock with the pins, and those ledges feels like binding pins, but no, it's just a ledge in the warding, and we're gonna bend our pick, and that's not too good. Okay, so other than just feeling for the pins and lightly touching them, let's try to rub them, count them, lightly touch them, and work on our tension. We've already got our white belt. Yellow belt will be the next video, which will be next week. Please send me some comments and some advice on the content of what we think we want. And I'll try to prepare that for the next video, but this one's already getting pretty long at 17 minutes. So thank you everyone, and please let me know what I should be including, if anything, but look forward to next week.